if you're in that right mindset, you can do anything that you want to do. And it does take that determination and the willpower to change.
It's time to change the world.
There's got to be a better way.
It's time for something better.
You feel like you can't really make a difference, but the fact is that you can.
We're telling the stories of people who are changing the world and how you can help.
We just need more companies that are out there solving these problems.
Businesses, nonprofits, artists, and individuals who have found a problem and then created a solution.
If we want to have real impact, we have to do it together.
You'll come away from every episode with action steps you can take to be part of that solution.
We're never going to feel satisfied and happy if we just stay the same.
We can each change the world every single day.
People can actually come together and build a future for themselves along with other people.
Our daily actions have a massive impact. So what will we do about it? We can remake the world. Because guess what? We can. Hi everyone. I'm Nathan Gardner, and this is We Can Remake the World, a podcast about people who are changing the world and how you can help. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us today. Like many of us, I've been reflecting a lot lately on recent events, all of them. The pandemic situation, of course, the political situation in the US and globally, as usual, and the recent police shootings, which brought about the loss of the innocent lives of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Manuel Ellis, Rayshard Brooks, David McAtee, and too many others. It's got me thinking about our ideas of ourselves. Are we really this culture which condones violence and racism? Are we really this society whose best political foot forward is full of division and based on conflict and partial truths on all sides? How can we sit with these difficult truths and stay focused on our vision for something greater, something better? How can we believe that improvement is possible amidst so much of this chaos? When we're surrounded by events like these, I think it can be easy for us to believe the worst about ourselves and about each other, right? It's like we're seeing these terrible things play out, so we start to look for it in each other and in our society, maybe more than we would normally. We see these actions taken by a small part of our population, and we see the systemic racism that's contributing to it, and we can't help but feel angry and upset at the injustice, or maybe small, or traumatized. Some of my Black friends have talked about the trauma that it brings up for them because of an entire life of that in the background. And when something like this comes to the fore, it's like everything that's been bottled up and experienced by generations just, the pressure builds. And there's this experience of old trauma coming back to life on top of what's happening now. We all want justice, we want change, and we don't know how to bring it about. It feels like we try, and that true, deep change is maybe slower to come than we want. Here's the question I've been asking of myself, and I want to ask it of you too. Can we have the courage to see what's happening right in front of us and believe better of ourselves anyway? Do we have the courage to see past our immediate circumstances and see a better world beyond it? Can we remember that there is good in us, there is better in us, if we can just believe it, access it, and bring it forward, each of us, the best way we know how? It's not easy. This is a painful time. These are painful circumstances. It's terrible to see people's lives treated with such ambivalence, and that pain won't just disappear, no matter how much we change our minds about a thing or try to improve our mindset. We can't ignore that pain. I don't think that's the right path forward. But the question is, what will we do with that pain and about that pain, and what will we do to strengthen our resolve to make a better world anyway? Will we allow circumstances like these to keep us stuck, repeating the same events that we've seen play out over decades and even centuries? Can we live with it, knowing that we're still not quite to where we want to go, and see beyond what's going on now to a place we haven't found just yet, but we're inching closer. Our guest today is just so perfect, I think, for this time because she's had to overcome pain, overcome old beliefs, overcome others' lowered expectations of what she was capable of, overcome her own limitations of what she believed she was capable of, in order to build a life for herself that she knew she could reach, but she had to strive for it. She had to see beyond pain and difficulty. She went from exercising as a hobby to winning Guinness World Records, accomplishing more than she thought possible for herself, all past age 50. She turned the loss of loved ones very close to her into fuel, which drove her to inspire others to take control of their health and build healthier practices into their lives. My hope is that we can do the same as she has done, that we can accomplish more than we currently think is possible for us. We look around and we see the challenge, we see the short term, because the short term is loud, it's in our face, and as I've said, it's painful. But if we can keep our eyes focused on the road ahead, on the longer term, on the connections and understanding that we're building because of these difficulties, we can experience the pain and challenges of this world, which isn't what we want it to be, and which doesn't truly reflect who I believe we really are. And we can move through those challenges with grace and determination for something better, despite all the difficulty. I hope you'll be inspired by our guest's example and by her ability to laugh and find joy even as she shares painful experiences. I hope you'll be inspired by her ability to turn her pain and her challenges and her limitations into her inspiration and her drive, and by her ability to transform her beliefs in herself and show the world what's possible. Yolanda Holder wants you to check your beliefs to make sure they're not limiting you, because she's having way too much fun shattering her own limitations, and she wants others to join in. As a 62-year-old Guinness World Record holder, Yolanda has made it her life's mission to change people's minds about the limits of the health and vitality of the so-called senior population. Yolanda also inspires people to challenge beliefs around illness, asking us to take simple steps to keep our bodies healthy and strong so that chronic diseases don't worsen or take hold at all in the first place. I spoke with Yolanda about all that she's accomplished since committing herself
so thanks so much
to breaking
for
down
speaking with me
barriers
today, Yolanda. I
at
really
age
appreciate
50.
it.
Thank you for having me.
Yolanda holds the Guinness World Record for the most marathons completed by a female in a calendar year twice over, for 106 marathons in 2010 and 120 in 2012.
So then in 2010 is when I got my first Guinness. And then in 2012, I broke my own record with 120 marathons.
One unique thing about Yolanda that I really appreciate is the fact that she walks her marathons. Most of us are accustomed to thinking of marathoners as runners, but Yolanda's breaking barriers as far as how she completes these marathons too. She completes the same distances as the runners in her own style.
1998 was my first marathon, and it was the Portland Marathon. And the reason why I picked the Portland Marathon is because they were walker friendly. I've been a walker my whole life, never did run, don't like running. So I chose that one.
Yolanda won't fit into anyone else's box, and she doesn't want you to either. Yolanda and I spoke about how she got started on her path with her 50th birthday, what drives her to succeed, and about her experience completing the longest foot race in the world, the Sri Chinmoy 3,100-mile self-transcendence race in New York City. You heard me, a 3,100-mile race. This is a conversation about believing the best about yourself and about others, about using pain to motivate us to become stronger than we've ever imagined as we overcome what we thought were our limits, what we thought was our breaking point. This is a conversation about seeing the finish line ahead, no matter how tough the race is, as only a world record-holding marathoner can.
And so for my 50th birthday, I decided, you know what, let's try something different. Because my sister went on like a 9-day cruise when she turned 50. One of my girlfriends bought a Harley, and she's still riding today, And so I just wanted to do something different. So I said, okay, I'm going to do 50 marathons in 50 weeks. And so I ended up doing the 66 that year. And then the next year I did 67. And then that's when I got in touch with Guinness to see if there was anybody with the most marathons. And it was a lady over in Italy, and she had done 100 in 2002. So I broke her 8-year record. And as of yesterday at the Los Angeles Marathon, that was my 545th marathon ultra.
Wow, congratulations.
But what's really close to my heart is Extreme Walk for Diabetes. I lost both my parents to type 2 diabetes back in 2012. My mom, she was in the hospital, and before she died, I spent the day with her in the hospital. And after we said goodbye, she said, you could use me. And I never knew what that meant. And so that's how Extreme Walk for Diabetes was born, because the last conversation we had as I was leaving the hospital, she said, you can use me. And I didn't know what that meant until after she passed a couple of years later. And I said, that's what she meant. I could use her. I can tell the world that something as simple as walking can help control type 2 diabetes and all diseases. So that is the most important journey that I've been on, or event that I've done. And that's how Extreme Walk for Diabetes was born. And what I did the first year was I walked from Corona, California, where I live, to Oakland, 525 miles away, to the American Diabetes Office, to spread the word that something as simple as walking can help control all diseases and can help you get healthy and fit. Walking helps to reduce stress. It also weight loss, and helps lower your blood pressure, your cholesterol, just every disease.
So there's a few things I'd like to ask you about, just about some of what we just spoke about. First, I mean, I just think it's so beautiful that your mom had that moment of clarity just before she passed, and you might not have known what it meant in the exact moment, but in some way, some part of her knew that she would inspire you to inspire others. And I would love to hear about just how your parents' struggle with diabetes contributed to that fire in you, and how it's part of what drives you.
My dad, you would never knew that he had type 2 diabetes. My dad was a recovering alcoholic. He recovered when I was 5 years old. We lived in San Diego, and I was doing terrible in school. I was in kindergarten. No, I was in first grade, and they wanted to hold me back. He was at the teachers' conference meeting. He said, her problem is me.
It's a beautiful thing for a parent to humble themselves like that.
Yeah, he didn't want them to hold me back. And so they also wanted me to see us. Back then, it was called a psychiatrist, and today we call it therapy. And I remember going into the therapist's office, and then I remember drawing a picture of family. And so when they showed my father the picture of family, there was a picture, I guess the way kindergartners draw, but it made his face look angry. And so my father chose to stop drinking. It didn't happen like right away, but within 2 years, my father started going to AA, and it became his life. My father died with over 45 years of being clean and sober. He sponsored hundreds of people. He changed his whole life. And from there, he opened up a rehabilitation. He was a co-founder of, and get this, the name of it, Free at Last, Free from Drugs and Alcohol. He sobered up got so many people off the streets, and then into his clinic, the drug and alcohol, the Free at Last. And so it was his calling. That's what God had meant for him to do. And so that center was just the most popular center. he sponsored just so many people. Okay, so with his diabetes, you never knew he had diabetes because he took care of it, where my mom was the opposite. She was this, she loved when you say, Mom, you can't eat that. Mom, you're eating that fudge. And so I tell both of their stories because they're absolutely the opposite of each other. And they both had type 2 diabetes and died of the complications. But overall, you can help control it by changing your diet and walking. The good thing with walking, it will lead to whatever sport that you like doing or physical activity. So what I did was the first year I walked from Corona to Oakland. The second year I walked from beautiful Laguna Beach to the San Francisco Golden Bridge. And along my journey, I also involved the public, which is when I walk for 15 days, you do something for 15 days straight. But it's like you don't know your path, your journey, what God has for you. But once you figure your purpose out, which I really believe my purpose at age 61 is to show the world that 60 is not old. It's not dead. We still can be athletes. I'm an amazing master's athlete. I like to say senior athlete because when you say masters with the U.S. track and field, it's age 35 and up. But senior is 55 and up. So I'm both master and senior. And so it's just that, and then being invited to do the 3100. And like I said, here in America, a lot of people never heard of it. And now I'm really trying to promote it more. And like I said, yesterday at the LA Marathon, I got on my Instagram. One lady said, "Oh my God, I was just telling somebody about you in the 3100 and you were here at the race." And it's just, people still can't comprehend that we had to run or walk 60 miles a day for 52 straight days to reach that 3100. And it's just an amazing, amazing race.
Would you share a little bit more about what's involved in that race?
Okay, well, the race started every morning at 6 a.m. and we had until midnight, 18 hours to finish our 60 miles or more. And I really did transcend. It's hard to explain, but to do something 3,100 miles. I went into it with an open mind, but I also went into it with the kind of badass. Oh, I got this. I can do this.
Yeah, right. That's swag.
I'm a Guinness World Record holder.
Yeah, you've earned some swag.
Yeah, I run some swag to it, but it beat me up. It broke me in a positive way. And I had to really dig deep and find out what I believe in. Can I go further? And that's where I really reached out to the people that were there at the race, mainly Harita. And she took me to a level in the race itself that I had never been. I mean, I have my belief. I truly, truly believe in God, or what we call God, or the universe. And it just took me to a level where I prayed. I prayed every single day and just asked God, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I going around and around this block in this heat? And then when my coach came, Renee from Australia, I was beat up both physically and mentally. And she was just like, oh my God, I ended up being 43 miles behind in the race. And with her training and her mindset, she got me back on track and got me to the finish line.
So what does that mean to be 43 miles behind? Because with a race of this length, you have to reach a certain number of miles per day. Is that right? To sort of stay on track to complete?
You have to do, I think it was 59.4 a day, and I just say 60. So when the race director came to me and said, you're 43 miles behind, I think I was on day 40 or maybe 38. I can't remember.
So you don't want to go back at that point.
Renee was the one, my coach, because I was like ready to quit. I was just like, okay, there's no way I can catch up. So they figured it out that I had to do 62 miles or more every single day straight for to the end of the race. And at first I was just bummed and I was just actually crying and just like, okay, it's over. And I went to look at my phone to call my husband to make plane arrangements for me to go home. And my notifications, when I turned my phone on, it just kept beeping and beeping and beeping and beeping. It felt like 5 minutes, but just say a good 2 minutes of the notification to stop beeping. And so I didn't even have to go into the Facebook app or anything because I could read them right there. Yolanda, you're my inspiration. Yolanda, I'm walking today because of you. Everything was just, Yolanda, we got you. We're here for you. I'm following you. And so then when I clicked on it, a couple of my ultra marathon friends, it's funny now, but it clicked. They go, Yolanda, it's just 100K that you have to do every day. You could do that in your sleep. See the difference? 62 miles. It's like, Yeah. But as an ultra marathon, oh yeah, 100K. Oh yeah, I've done plenty of those. I got plenty of buckles for 100K. And that was the mindset. And then my coach was like, how many 100 miles have you done? How many marathons have you done? And it's like, so you're letting 100K bother you? You got this. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. The mindset, there it is. You can do it. You can be negative and say, I got 62 miles to do every single day, or you got 100K that you get to do every day. Hey. Yeah. And so that was the mindset she put me in. And I was the first walker to ever finish or ever do the 3100. And I walked the whole race. So yeah, I'm excited, as you could see. So that's another thing that's really exciting for me and one of my accomplishments. You had to really be there mentally to be able to, because the mind will really play tricks on you. There was many times. Oh, crying was in. Crying. I have no problem telling you how much I cried. And that's where, before I would talk to Renee, my coach, every morning, and then the previous, the runners that were there, they've all were veterans, except for Harita and I, and they really encouraged you, really just helped out a lot to keep you, in the race, because that year only 5 of us finished, and it was the first time 3 women finished. And the other 5, they kept going, but they got really behind. You have to just really reach out and just ask yourself why you're there. You had to be positive. You just had to really believe that you can finish it. And you could not let anything negative or have negative energy, because it's like when you did your first marathon, how you always wanted to quit, or at least for me, or you're like, be on mile 14, you go, 14, that's it? Well, you had to reverse that. You're like, okay, I'm only on lap 52, and I got 106 to go. I didn't sleep for maybe 20 days. And the first week, my daughter was my crew, and she was there, and I just cried at night because I couldn't go to sleep, and your legs just would be vibrating and stinging and hurting. And but they did say by halfway, like mile, day 23, you'll be able to sleep, and you won't even remember not sleeping. And I learned to power nap in 15 minutes. Some of the racers, the runners, taught me how to do that. One of my favorite was Vasu. This man was so amazing. He would actually take a plastic bag, and he would, as he's doing his lap, he would pick up garbage. And I thought, I'm trying to get my miles in, and you're leisurely picking up garbage. And then he would work out 3 times a day, in that 45 minutes that he should be napping, he was working out. And then he would go into a 10-minute power nap. And then he was refreshed. They're just amazing, amazing athletes. And so it's all believing. It's all believing that you could do it. And just keeping that positive, trusting in your feelings, trusting what you feel. And what Renee taught me when I was way behind and doing a lot of crying and trying, she said, there's pleasure behind that pain. Once you get past that pain that you're feeling, there is pleasure. But I was pulling off, 62 miles, 65 miles. I think my best was 68 miles. Yeah, and that came from, just really tapping into your belief system and just really believing that you could do it and just putting out to the universe just positive energy. So my second year, I again got a little cocky and I didn't work on my feet. I came into the race with just tender, smooth feet. And day one, it started with the blisters, and it got worse and worse. What I did was I started praying, and I started asking Jesus, what do you want me to do? Why did you bring me back this year? So my feet hurt so bad that I named my pain. And so I kept coming up with this name, Misty. My brother, who passed away many years ago, he used to love this movie, play Misty for me. He died 9/11, 2010, and he said, no matter where you break the record, I'll be there. So his spirit has always been with me. So when Misty kept coming up, then I said, oh yeah, James, Misty Blue. And so I felt he was with me. And then one time, maybe a couple of times, I would go Facebook Live. And then I would tell people, whatever pain you're going through, name that pain, face the pain, whether you have diabetes or, leukemia or something that's stopping you from walking, embrace her or him. And I ended up with a lot of people emailing me saying they named their pain. That was just God saying, Yolanda, this is your journey. This time I'm going to take you out the race. So that was my journey that year, to inspire people to whatever your pain is and whatever disease you have, you can get past it. Just name it, because there is a little bit of pleasure behind that. Not saying that it's going to go away, but you'll learn to cope with it, to deal with it, to accept it. It's just amazing what you could do as a walker, or if you're in that right mindset, you can do anything that you want to do. And it does take that determination and that the willpower to change. We all have 2 options, right or left. And neither one are wrong, but what's right for you. Last year in Milwaukee, I got second place female. I set an age group world and American record with 413 miles. So back to being an athlete and over 60, we are amazing. We're not dead. And if you believe in yourself and know what your purpose in life is and what God has put on your heart to do, follow it and don't let anyone take it away from you or steal your joy. That's what I'm learning with the 3100. I'm learning with these 6-day races. I've learned that I'm a whole new person. And sometimes your surroundings, like with my mom, telling me I can use her. I never in my wildest dreams even thought of walking from Corona to the other end of California. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would do the 3100. I didn't wake up one day and say, this is what I want to do today. at age 61. So if you just listen to that little voice, if you can call it whatever you want to call it. And I've had a lot of trials, a lot of things that really have made me stop and think, but that just shows that we are capable. We are unlimited. The human body and mind is unlimited. And we're proving that. And I'm just blessed that I'm able to prove that over 60. Like I said, I never said I wanted to be an athlete. Here I am at 60, number one walker in the world. Who would have thought?
And when you challenge yourself like you've done, there's no limit to the limits that we can break down as far as our health at any age, or our vitality at any age, or our creativity.
Yeah, I'm proud. And I even with the diabetes, with my family, my parents passing, I asked God, I said, why did you give me to have me speak on diabetes on behalf of my parents? Because that's a hard disease to talk to people about, because they tend to feel with type 2 diabetes, that they did that to themselves, and they get a little embarrassed and then it's a disease that no one wants to talk about. It's kind of like an embarrassing thing. And the answer that he gave me was, well, if I would have given you breast cancer to represent, to be an activist for, that's too easy. Everybody, talks about it and making it easy. He said, but I wanted to give you something that would really make an impact on people's lives that do have it, that it's okay, And then I also asked, well, how come you didn't make me a runner? And again, everybody's a runner. No one's a walker, Yolanda. So he gave me these two amazing gifts to put together. And now I talk about how easy it is to control, not just type 2 diabetes, but all the diseases. All starts with that one step. Take that first step, walk. And it will lead to running or jogging or riding your bike or hiking. So.
And I love that you pull in people into the diabetes walk specifically that you do, or any of the marathons that you're doing, where you challenge people to take on a new habit that benefits them every day that you're doing that marathon. I think that's so beautiful. What are some of the things that people have done?
One lady, she last year she hiked Mount Everest, and so that was amazing. She took the whole training, everything, and she said that was because of you. I've had many people do their first half marathon. I mean, these are people who have never walked, done a 5K. And so, and then I had another guy friend. He said he used to always ride his bike. He did his first 50-mile bike ride. I also do a headstand every day. I'm on, I think, day 700. I'm on my second year, or actually my third year. I've got people challenging themselves to do a plank every day, to learn to do a headstand, because I had to learn. It took me 30 days to come off that wall. Okay, I had to hang on to the wall. I'm like, I'm not going to, you're staying there. Yeah, I've really inspired people to just remember when they were young and what physical activity did you do. Try it today.
I love that.
So I'm proud of that.
Yeah, as you should be. Well, thank you so much, Yolanda, for speaking with me. It's been an honor to speak with you. I think that your message, your beliefs, your energy are so inspiring, and it's an honor to tell your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I think my favorite part of speaking with Yolanda was how much joy she had. That's what I remember more than anything else. Yolanda smiled just about the entire time we were speaking. She was laughing constantly. She might be into her 60s now, but if she told me she had just turned 40, I wouldn't have doubted it for a second. And I think a lot of that has to do with her attitude and her energy. Yolanda doesn't see herself the way others might. Her beliefs about herself aren't affected by most people's expectations of a quote-unquote senior, or a competitive walker, or a female athlete, or a black female athlete. Yolanda lives outside of these categories. She's just doing her thing, making herself happy, challenging her own limits for her own benefit. Yolanda tunes out all that noise and pushes herself because it gives her joy. And when I was speaking with her, I could sense how much she loves throwing people's lowered expectations of her out the window, and even maybe back in their faces a little bit. You think a walker can't finish the longest foot race in the world? Watch me. You think a woman over 50 can't set a world record for marathoning? Watch me. This is such an empowering and freeing quality to build within ourselves. I think about how we relate to ourselves and to each other. Let's not lower our expectations of ourselves or of other people because of outside circumstances. Let's remember that we have the ability to overcome our limitations. So let's raise our expectations rather than lower them when it comes to what we think we're capable of, and when it comes to what we think we're all capable of, within our immediate communities, our national communities, and our global community. And that's where we'll start with our changemakers for today's conversation. Our 3 ideas, inspired by our guest, that could change our minds and change our world. Changemaker number 1. We are only limited by our beliefs about ourselves. I love applying Yolanda's mindset to other situations because I think there's so much potential in it, no matter what we're talking about, and especially to our cultural story. You think we can't overcome these challenges that we're facing right now? Watch us. You think we can't believe in the good in ourselves and each other more than we believe in and look for the bad? Watch us. You think we can't reshape our cultural stories and find ways to build equality and dignity into every aspect of our society for all people? Watch us. It's a determination, a fierce commitment, which doesn't make room for doubt. We have to believe that we're able to do these things. We have to believe that we're capable of building this better world. It would serve us, I think, to adopt a mindset like this, like Yolanda's, so that we don't get too caught up in the difficulty of the moment. Just like a marathon runner, we have to keep our eyes on the long-term goal. If we focus on how tough each day or each moment even feels, I think we can easily get stuck or find ourselves discouraged often, and we find ourselves in worry. When we know we can do better, we'll do better. When we keep that longer road in mind, looking ahead toward the finish line, then we're able to get through the immediate moments of difficulty. When we sort of think we might be able to do a little better, but are more likely to sit back and continue to let things play out as they are, we won't find the drive to really transform this world. It starts with our belief and how we behave from that belief. Changemaker number 2. Our pain can be a messenger telling us that we're growing out of our old limits and our old beliefs. There are moments when we have to stop and sit with pain and be with it, and there are moments to overcome and press on. How we behave when things are painful will determine what comes next. Will we reach the finish line, or will we tap out before we've reached our goals? This was a huge one for me as I spent years overcoming a long list of health challenges. It was so painful at times and frustrating, and there were moments I wanted to give up and just stop caring because it was so painful to just want that improvement so badly and not feel like I was experiencing it. It seemed like nobody had easy answers for me, and I had to find my own answers and trust myself and push myself to keep going. But now, my endurance muscles are so much stronger. My mental endurance, my physical endurance, my sense of personal empowerment is so much greater, and I have knowledge and skills I never would have found without that pain, without that struggle. So our pain can be our teacher. Our ability to find our strength despite that pain, amidst that pain, can help show us how strong we are, how much ability we have to hold a better vision for ourselves. What pain are you experiencing, which might be growth in disguise? What beliefs are causing so much friction that they're actually painful for you, but they're beliefs that you can let go of to make room for something new, something that will serve you better, something that will take you to a better and bigger place? What pains are we experiencing, which might be growth in disguise? Maybe these pains are calling out the truth of some of our situations so that we can see them for what they are and truly make foundational change that we've needed for a long time. I think the key here is long-term thinking. Just like a marathoner knows the finish line is always at the end of the race, if we can keep our destination clearly in our minds, that better world, that better way of being, and the details that will build it, then we'll move faster toward it than we would have otherwise. And we won't give up. And changemaker number 3, no impact is too small. Yolanda may be one person, but look at the inspiration she's offered to the people around her. Yolanda may not speak to thousands of people on a regular basis, but she speaks to hundreds, and she has stories of changing people's lives through her example, through her inspiration. She is the only person in the world to do what she's done, to run a certain number of marathons in a single year. Never think of your inspiration or your actions as being insignificant. Wear them proudly, like Yolanda. Speak your accomplishments. Speak your experience of overcoming your limitations to inspire others to do the same. Keep pushing yourself to be the best you can be and shine as an example for yourself and then for others too. I'm also so inspired by the example of Yolanda's father, who took his life and made an example out of it for others on the scale that made sense for him. This was a man who used the lessons he learned about substance abuse and overcoming alcohol to mentor and inspire hundreds of others, which Yolanda told us about, helping them to leave their substance abuse behind and move into a more self-empowered life, to be free at last. He started his own rehab program, sponsored so many, and you can feel in the way Yolanda speaks about him the legacy that he left behind and the lives that he impacted, just by making the choice to do so. This man may not have been in the news, and he may not have books written about him, but he used his life to inspire others, and left a mark in his own way. No impact is too small. No impact is insignificant. I think it's one of the most rewarding experiences we can have in life, not believing in ourselves and thinking that we'll be defeated or that we're going to have to give up, and then proving to ourselves that we did have the strength, we did have the resilience and the resolve to see more in ourselves than we thought possible. It's an incredibly powerful experience, and it's something we should all make room for in our lives. We are unlimited if we really believe in ourselves. What is that idea that you're ready to outgrow or to overcome? And what are the ideas collectively that we can overcome that are limiting us as far as how good we can be, how good we can make this world? I think it comes down to figuring out what drives us and identifying that thing so that it fuels us past our limitations. I think when you really tune into your passion, your purpose, your vision, then you'll find a way to overcome the things that stand in the way of it, because it matters too much to you. When we find that idea or that project or that way of behaving or thinking that gets us too excited to ignore it, then we won't give up on it very easily. And we'll keep at it until we overcome what we thought was possible for ourselves and find ourselves standing in a new and exciting place. For many of us, the idea of walking or running 60 miles every day for almost 2 months straight sounds insane. We wouldn't even think of attempting it. But for some people, like Yolanda, that's just another opportunity to grow, another opportunity to shine, another opportunity to move past some old beliefs and show others what's possible. How can you inspire others where you stand? What flag can you plant in the ground with your ideas and your passion? What sparks your joy and your inspiration so much that when you wake up in the morning, nothing can stop you from getting back to it and building it or growing it and sharing it with the world? That's, I think, what we're called to find in this time. There's no shortage of challenges in this world, and there is a good chance many of them may get worse before they get better. But like a marathon runner, we have the option to grow from these challenges and to learn from them and to allow them to coach us into being bigger and badder than we ever knew. As Yolanda puts it, we can go right or left. We can go toward growth and expansion and overcoming, or we can go left toward despair and defeat and giving up. And neither is wrong, and honestly, I think a lot of us will say that we go between the two. Often, it's part of life, it's part of the ebb and flow of believing and growing and then needing to recede a little bit and doubting ourselves. It's natural, but we do have the choice as far as our overall direction. Are we going to stay in the race and head toward that finish line, or are we going to get stuck and stop midway through? We can say to ourselves, we're strong enough, we're creative enough, we're compassionate enough, we're determined enough, and we're focused on these ideas of equality and a better world enough to take on the challenges before us when it comes to how we treat each other and how we treat our world. We can seek out and find our piece of the solution and then stay focused on it and grow with it and share it and build more inspiration and possibility in a world that's craving peace and hope and potential. We can find that thing that only we possess and bring it outward into our lives and share it with others. Or we can look around at all of the things that challenge us and decide that it's too much to tackle. We can choose to believe that no difference we can make will matter and that there's no way to come to the other side of the many questions we're asking. I mean, even just saying these words feels ridiculous. I personally could never allow that second version of our world to be true. I see too many solutions around us. I see too many smart, strong, compassionate, and creative people who are good to their core, who will not let this world unravel into some place that none of us would ever want to live in. Our impulse to adapt and create and support each other and support ourselves, I think, is too strong. So I invite you to join me in making a commitment to doing whatever you can each day to make your corner of the world a better place. Start by caring for yourself, as Yolanda did. Start by identifying your passion and cultivating it. Your passion has to come from you, not from a sense of obligation to others. It starts with your relationship to yourself, I think. What will give you the best possible foundation to stand on firmly from a healthy, joyful place? Then move to others. Then share your gifts once you've found them within yourself. Figure out how you can serve and uplift others with the passions that you have within you. If only 500 people in the world made a commitment like this to be part of a better world every day and then stuck to it every day in small ways and big ways, they would impact thousands of people who would impact millions, and then we just grow from there. So start now. Offer your contribution now. Even if only 500 people do this, it could change the world. So let's do it. So here's what you can do today, inspired by our guest. Keep moving, keep thinking, stay active, even during lockdown. Let life slow and, don't push against the new pace that we're all experiencing, that we can't control overall, but don't allow that to cause life to come to a total standstill. Learn, grow, challenge your beliefs and ideas about yourself and the world while you've got this time and space to explore new ways of thinking, to reflect, to build new self-care practices, or whatever's going to get your energy flowing and moving. During this time of lockdown and limitation from a travel and movement point of view, make a commitment to care for yourself and your body and mind in new and better ways, so that once the world has resumed a pace that we're all a little bit more accustomed to, you come back with a stronger foundation. Be ready to take on the challenges that we face once we can get back to it in the way that we're used to. Be an example to those around you by caring for yourself and staying as positive as you can and showing the way as you support your mental and physical health. Essentially, allow yourself to be inspired by Yolanda and be an example of health and positivity in whatever way resonates for you. Our challenge for today's episode is all about overcoming limitations. Identify a limitation that you have for yourself and then overcome it. Give yourself some time to reflect and think about an aspect of your life that you want to shift. What are you ready to grow out of and grow into? And it can be anything. It can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, creative, no rules, no expectations. This is all about you and what's going to inspire you. Supersede your expectations for yourself. Push yourself past where you've been in the past. Just show yourself that it's possible. You could do something small. It could be related to your diet. It could be something big. That project that you've wanted to make for the last 5 years, make it. That book you've wanted to write for the past 2 months, write it. Show yourself that you have the ability to change the way you think about something that matters to you. Make it more positive, more empowering, and then go from there. See what that does to your relationship to other ideas about yourself and about other people, and just take that journey with yourself. That's today's challenge. If you'd like to support Yolanda directly as she builds Extreme Walk for Diabetes and other projects, you can find more at yolandaholder.com. You can also join and walk with Yolanda at this amazing event in California, Extreme Walk for Diabetes. You can be a walker. Once being outside together is a little easier, probably in 2021 sometime. You can also check out Yolanda's book, My Journey to Guinness, available online through Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other outlets. Thanks so much for joining us today. Please do whatever it takes to care for yourselves, and please be there for others as often as you can be. Again, our communities, as we've said on other episodes, are key right now. This is still a very uncertain and challenging time for many of us, and in many ways. So there are endless opportunities for you to serve and show that you're strong enough to support others. And on days where you're not strong enough to support others, you've got people to reach out to lean on. And that is more than okay too. We're so grateful that you've taken time to join us today and to listen to this episode. And we'd be so appreciative if you'd share it with someone that you think would be inspired by Yolanda's story and by these ideas. Don't forget to subscribe to our show so that you can get notifications when we release new episodes. Give us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're using to help us spread the word. And tune in to our next episode 2 weeks from today, where we'll speak with 2 leaders from a nonprofit based in California, which changed the way we think about our reefs and our oceans almost single-handedly. We learned so much from that conversation, and we're really excited for you to hear it. And until then, be well.